Well, good morning, Stephen.
Morning.
Um, I thought we could just have a few minutes discussing our British Democrats AGM that we had recently. And so I'm going to kick off by just discussing really the success of the meeting. I thought that all the individual speakers were really good. Everybody brought something fresh to it. Um, and there's a couple of points that I've made. Firstly, there's a real fervour around the room at the AGM. About the progress that we've made in the last year or so. Specifically, the fact that we contested local elections, we scored some really good results. Julian done really well. Julian Leppert, that is, done really well in the sort of London-Essex border. And I helped out quite a lot with the campaign down in Maidstone with Lawrence Rushton, our elections officer. He done very well, I thought, as well. We put a lot of hard work in down there. And in fact, there was a couple of speakers, Richard Perry and Chris Bateman, who spoke about community politics. And it's community politics that the British Democrats have really been engaged in, not just over the last year, for a few years now, but since I've sort of become active in the party, we've been really engaged in community politics. And I thought that Richard Perry's speech was really good, as well as Chris Bateman's, because what their speech has done, they really introduce people into the importance of community politics, into what a local councillor, even at parish council level, can actually achieve. You know,
Yeah,
I think what,
definitely.
yeah, absolutely. And I think what we've done as British Democrats, we don't just engage with people by leafleting in a town centre or door to door. We also help out in local communities, whether that's a graffiti clean-up or sweeping leaves away from a pavement near a school or a hospital. I know Chris Bateman's been really good at that over in Essex. Um, and so I was really impressed with those two speeches. Yours as well, I thought was really good. You know, why you joined the British Democrats. I thought that was a really important thing to speak about. Because people
Thank you.
join political parties for various reasons. You
Yeah.
know, I think for most of us in the British Democrats, we're incredibly anxious about where the direction that our country is heading in.
Mm.
And it seems to me that the British Democrats are probably pretty much the only serious political party, certainly serious political nationalist party out there, that seeks to tackle some of the really pressing issues. I thought your speech was really good as well. What did
Thank
you
you.
think about? Yeah, you're more than welcome. I really mean that. What did you think about the AGM?
Yeah, I thought it was a great event. I was very pleased personally to have been asked to
Mm,
speak. After visiting two of the Maidstone meetings, it was something that was on my mind that I would like to contribute. So yeah, it was great to get an opportunity to speak about it. And I'm just penning another speech for the next Maidstone meeting, which I'm looking forward to. Probably something around developing, from the points I raised of my journey and why I joined, and then how we could there are people like me out there, and we need to be marketing to those people in the right way to pull them into this party. So yeah, that will be the next for me. I really enjoyed Richard Perry's speech. I think it's, as someone who's just come into a political party and looking to do more, it was great to see what can be achieved and what he achieved. Eventually becoming the chairperson for the parish council. Yeah, so I thought that was a great story and a great insight
mm.
to what can be achieved.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What did you think of Steve Smith's speech? I mean, I'm a big fan of Steve Smith. I mean, he's a very natural speaker. When I talk at
Yeah,
meetings, I tend to have a page of notes that I pretty much just read from.
yeah.
Pardon me, but Stephen has a real sort of natural ability of speaking. What did you think of his speech?
Well, I think his passion and his knowledge, when you put those two together,
Mm,
that's what shines through on his speech. So, as part of what I was saying about my journey of coming into the party, seeing a few of his speeches and Jim Lufwaite's as well,
mm,
and others, that really gave me confidence in the party that they were a group of people who were knowledgeable, who were intellectual, and were passionate about what they were doing, and that
mm.
shines through on Stephen's speeches.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I was really pleased as well. well, with all of them, but the speech by Peter Finch I thought was really good because we live in an age of social media, and I like the idea that we're going to be getting a new TikTok account to
Yeah,
try to reach out to younger audiences. I mean, I don't have TikTok, but I'm above the age of 40 now. In fact, I'm above the age of 45 now. You know, and TikTok's a whole new world for me. But I know that is where a lot of younger people go. They're not necessarily
yeah,
on Facebook anymore.
yeah,
It's more
yeah,
sort of Instagram, TikTok, those sort of medias. So I was really pleased that Peter's announced at our meeting that we're going to be
yeah,
embracing TikTok as a platform to sort of attract a younger audience.
yeah.
Yeah, what do you think
I
of
think
that?
we've got to I think we've got to embrace any platform
Mm,
which holds the people that we're looking for,
yeah,
our target market, if you like. Um, and this ties into some of the stuff which I would like to talk about, which is, target markets and optics and being consistent in that, and how we market to younger people versus maybe the older people.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree with that fundamentally. Going through a couple more of the speeches. I mean, I thought Darren Copeland's speech as well was really good. The rise of nationalist parties in Europe, and
yeah,
this was, of course, just prior to the election in the United States, where of course Donald Trump was victorious. And I think it really sort of discussed the narrative that people have had enough, not just in Europe, in this country, of course, but in the US as well. And I liked the way he spoke. He spoke with passion about those nationalist parties across the continent and the way that they're making progress. And I think that we're starting to see the political narrative shift in this country. Now, we've
yeah,
lived for a long time under, I'm going to use quite a hyperbolic term, but sort of quasi-communist
mm,
regimes, which sounds
yeah,
ironic because we've had what we call a Conservative Party for 14
yeah,
years until Labour displaced them in our general election. But in a way, they were pretty much the soft communist,
yeah,
particularly when it comes to cultural issues, the economy as well. And I
mm,
thought that Darren's speech was really, really good because I think it highlights that there is hope out there. A
yeah.
lot of the people I
But
speak to, that they tend to be rather despondent at the moment about
yeah,
the way that politics is heading in this country.
mm,
And I try to point them to these nationalist parties, and I thought that Darren
yeah,
done a really good job of that.
yeah. I mean,
What's your
it's a
thoughts
bit
on that?
like Jonathan Bowden used to say about being economically free marketeers,
Mm,
but socially, communist, Marxist, Frankfurt School. That's how it is, and
yeah,
that obviously, these ideas they will fail. The Marxist thought and the ideas from the Frankfurt School, they will fail. That's inevitable, and it's what replaces it that's important, and how we can kind of steer that. So it gives us confidence to see what's happening in Europe, and I think all the signs are really good at the moment. I'm really, I am very optimistic about the next sort of 5 to 10 years of how it's going to change in this. We might have to go through more hardship first before it gets better, but I think it will get better.
yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. And instantly, I bought one of the British Democrats mugs at the AGM. You might have seen me walking around sipping my water
Yeah,
out of it. But someone nicked it recently, hence why I've got a J2O. I left it where I work and someone pinched it. So thanks for that, whoever it was. Um, again, moving on to Roberta's speech, two-tiered policing and justice. Yeah, it's something that I've touched upon briefly at a previous British Democrats meeting. Um, so I was really interested in what she had to say. It's something I knew probably quite a lot. I think a lot of us probably know quite a lot about the two-tiered policing and justice in this
mm-hmm.
country. We see it all the time, you
Yeah,
know, particularly online. I mean, I think if I'm butchering her name here, my apologies, but the Telegraph journalist Alison Pearson recently, of course,
mm-hmm.
had a visit from the police over a Twitter a post that she made, or an ex post as it is now.
Yeah,
Never tends to be somebody like Emily Maitlis. It never tends to be someone who supports Hamas, for
Yeah.
instance, getting a knock on the door from the local police constabulary. It only tends to be somebody who's relatively patriotic or who upholds biological reality, and by that I mean who challenges the trans debate, for example.
Yeah.
And I thought Roberta was really good because what she done, she really honed in on that. She used some examples of that at the meeting as well.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I thought it was good. It was good to show some examples. I kind of feel like it's an act of desperation from the government at the moment.
Yeah.
I think they're so paranoid of controlling, they need to control us because they're standing against nature at the end of the day and the natural course of things. And you read about this type of stuff in Alexander Solzhenitsyn's work on like the Gulag Archipelago. If you read that, I mean, the tactics are very similar. They're trying to create panic within us so that, none of us are going to step out of line. And they've come down hard on, because people are going to think, well, what if that's me? What if I get put in prison for 2 years for saying something online? And that's the kind of thing that they're trying to create right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
agree.
I do think that, the riots and stuff, that was kind of just a load of anger, letting off steam, and then they've used it as an opportunity to scare the rest of us. And that's why we can't react like that. We've got to look at it over the longer term and get involved with this type of politics and not just be reactionaries.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think you've hit the nail on the head there very eloquently, that people were angry. They're still angry. They've been angry for years, many of them.
Yeah.
And that outburst of anger we saw on the streets was just a reaction. It was a reaction against the previous Conservative administration and the current Labour one, who seem to be just taking the same routes as what the Conservatives did, probably a little bit more harshly than what the Conservatives did, in fact.
Yeah.
But I think you're absolutely right. And Steve Smith touches upon this quite often in his speeches and his writings on our website. And that's that people need to vent that anger in a different, more constructive way. And I'd like to get people out sort of helping us now, leafleting campaigns, if they have the confidence to, maybe some canvassing, knocking on people's doors and speaking to them directly. And if you do that, people will tell you, they are also just as angry as you and me and the rest of us in the British Democrats. They see the two-tier policing, and it feels to me as though the Tories and Labour, they probably, to a certain extent, understand how angry the British public are, but choose deliberately to neglect it. And I think that's very dangerous because they're not reflecting the mood of the nation, and I thought Roberta touched upon that really well.
Yeah, I would say it's got to the point now where they're not even trying to fool us.
Yeah.
Do you know, like the Conservatives, they fooled us for years with saying what they were going to do to appease their votership, etc. Labour aren't even trying now.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Ploughing forward, with whatever they want to do.
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly right. And finally, David Furness as well spoke at the AGM on the replacement of the ethnic British. And this is something that again, a lot of us, we see the demographic changes in our communities. I see the demographic changes here where I live in Kent. People do across the country, London, Luton, Birmingham. They now have a minority, native British status. And for many people, that's a tremendously worrying sign of things to come. I mean, for me, once or if we become a minority in our own homeland here, does that have repercussions and consequences? And we don't yet know what could happen. And I thought that David spoke really eloquently on the subject. I mean, again, he's been around in the nationalist movement for many years, and he understands these things. He understands how to connect with not only the the room, the British Democrats, but with the wider public as well. Do you have anything to say on that speech?
Yeah, I mean, it is a theme that's kind of that reoccurs within. Well, it's kind of central to our politics, isn't it? Really, it's one of the biggest problems of the day. So, I mean, yeah, it comes up a few times in the different speeches that I've seen about the ethnic replacement. I think the important thing is to talk about it, and to talk about it forthrightly, and not to take a step backwards when you're talking to other people about it. Because what has been happening over the last few years is that the kryptonite, if you like, the racism pejorative has come at people, and then they've taken a step back, and then you enter into kind of reform type politics where, you know, this is just an economic area and it doesn't matter who populates it. But we know that that does matter, because it, you know, it goes against nature, and nature will always win. And that's why you're seeing the problems that we're seeing in this country right now. It is about numbers, but it also is about ethnicities. And, you know, a nation is its people, and the link between birth, which is where the word nation comes from, to be born from. So, yeah, I think it's a very important subject, and I'm sure it will be spoken about a lot more at various meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100% with you there. Just to wrap up, I mean, we had, of course, the meeting was chaired by Deputy Chairman Stephen Smith, but our party secretary Michael Jones obviously spoke as well, more on sort of administrative things. But I just wanted to say a big thanks to Mike. A lot of people in the party know him, and he's so hardworking. I mean, what he does for our party, people don't. I don't think a lot of people understand the depth of the effort that he puts into the party.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
I just wanted to say sort of big public thank you to Mike. You know, he's been fantastic for us.
And you know, he's working a full-time job as well, and not being paid for his efforts.
Yeah.
You know, I often receive a WhatsApp from him that he's maybe sent at 12:30 at night, and things that, you know, it's a bit of administration. He needs to tell me something, and he's doing it in the time he's got. So, yeah, I think if you had more of him, you know, that would really help.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, absolutely, 100%. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for your time. You know, it's been really nice chatting to you, and I think we're going to be seeing each other again soon at the next British Democrats meeting in a couple of weeks or so. So
yeah,
it'll be good to catch up, and it'll give me an opportunity to once again buy my British Democrats mug, so I don't have to drink out of one of these glasses. Thank you very much, Stephen.
No problem.